In the ring, he was a force of nature, a living weapon. A man built not to compete, but to dominate. His nickname said it all, the Smashing Machine. But behind the brutal knockouts, behind the muscle, the trophies, and the myth, was a man slowly being crushed by the weight of his own legend. This is the story of Mark Kerr, one of the most feared and complex fighters in MMA history. And this is the Smashing Machine, not just a movie about victory, but about what it means to lose everything and fight your way back. Directed by Benny Safdie and starring a completely transformed Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, The Smashing Machine takes us into the raw, blood-and-sweat world of underground mixed martial arts in the late 1990s, long before it became the polished, billion-dollar industry it is today. We meet Mark Kerr at the peak of his physical prime. An unstoppable wrestler-turned-fighter, Kerr dominates in a time when MMA was still a brutal, barely regulated sport. His combination of size, speed, and raw aggression makes him nearly unbeatable. He's a one-man wrecking crew, the embodiment of controlled violence. But from the very beginning, the film makes one thing clear. This story isn't just about the fight in the cage, it's about the fight outside of it. As Mark racks up win after win, he earns fame, titles, and respect. But what he can't outrun is the pain, physical, emotional, and psychological. The training is relentless. The injuries pile up. And the pressure to keep performing at superhuman levels begins to crush him. To keep the machine running, Kerr turns to painkillers, then more. What starts as recovery becomes addiction, a hidden war he's fighting with himself. At home, his relationship with Dawn, played by Emily Blunt, begins to fracture. What began as love and support becomes strained under the weight of secrecy, emotional withdrawal, and a growing darkness Mark can no longer hide. We see glimpses of his vulnerability. The fighter who once couldn't be hurt now finds himself haunted by fear, of failure, of weakness, of becoming irrelevant. And slowly, the cracks begin to show. Kerr's story takes a pivotal turn in Japan, in the legendary Pride Fighting Championships, the last frontier of no-holds-barred fighting. But this time, Mark is no longer the invincible juggernaut he once was. His body is battered, his mind clouded, and the man once known as the Smashing Machine starts losing not just fights, but pieces of himself. The film doesn't build toward a typical sports movie triumph. There is no glorious final win. Instead, we watch Kerr reach his breaking point. In one of the film's most powerful moments, he suffers a devastating loss, and with it comes something unexpected: release. Because in that moment, the mask of the machine falls away. The crowd may have stopped cheering, but for the first time, Mark begins to confront what he's really been fighting all along. Not his opponents, but himself. The Smashing Machine isn't just about the punches thrown, it's about the identity built behind them. It explores what happens when you wrap your entire life around being unbeatable, and then realize, painfully, that no one wins forever. Mark Kerr was a man who built himself into a machine, physically powerful, emotionally closed off, utterly committed to one goal: destroy or be destroyed. But machines aren't meant to feel. They're not meant to love, or rest, or heal. And the real story here is what happens when that machine begins to break. We watch as Kerr battles addiction, depression, and isolation, and how these struggles don't just affect him, but those around him. Dawn, his partner, is a crucial part of this journey. Not as a savior, but as someone who reflects his growing inability to connect, to communicate, to let his guard down. In many ways, The Smashing Machine is a film about masculinity and vulnerability, about the cost of being told to tough it out, to keep fighting, to never show weakness. The film doesn't shy away from the messiness of Mark's life. It embraces it. It dares to ask, what if the bravest thing a man can do is stop pretending to be unbreakable? In a career filled with heroic roles, Dwayne Johnson gives arguably his most vulnerable and raw performance yet. Gone is the smile, the swagger, the charisma we know from his blockbuster hits. In The Smashing Machine, Johnson disappears into the role, physically transforming, yes, but also emotionally. You see the pain in his eyes, the silence between his words, the fear behind his strength. It's a portrayal that feels real, lived in, and at times, almost too honest. Director Benny Safdie, known for his gritty, kinetic storytelling in films like Uncut Gems, brings a documentary-like intensity to the screen. The fights are brutal and real. But it's the quieter moments, the empty hotel rooms, the hushed conversations, the internal breakdowns, where the film really hits hardest. By the time the credits roll, The Smashing Machine has delivered something far deeper than a sports movie. It's a story about what it costs to be the best, and what it takes to become whole again. Kerr doesn't ride off into the sunset. He doesn't reclaim a title or beat his demons in one triumphant blow. But he begins something more important. He starts healing. And that's what makes this story so unforgettable. Because we all wear masks. We all build our own machines, to work harder, push further, protect ourselves from pain. But sometimes the only way to survive is to break that machine down and find the human underneath. The Smashing Machine is more than a film. It's a wake-up call. A gut punch. A mirror held up to anyone who's ever fought to live up to an image and lost themselves along the way. Whether you're a fan of MMA, a lover of character-driven dramas, or someone just searching for a story with real emotional weight, The Smashing Machine delivers a knockout in all the right ways. Don't expect a happy ending. Expect an honest one. Movie Camera thanks for watching. Thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth breakdowns. Bellhop bell and let us know in the comments. What did you take away from The Smashing Machine? Until next time, stay strong, stay human.